like to welcome all the members that are here tonight. Quite a really good turn up. Have we got any visitors here tonight? If you'd like to introduce yourself and maybe tell us what car you're driving.
My name's Kim and I'm a new member and I've got a Toyota Prado.
Well done. Thank you. Oh, sorry, there's someone else.
I think they've got someone with them, haven't they? Isn't this a visitor? You're a visitor as well?
Yeah, just from Affinity Insurance Brokers. I'm just visiting today.
Good. Great.
Okay. Thank you. That's all. Great. We're going to start off first with our guest speaker, who tonight we've got Wayne Heavey who's the CEO of Four Wheel Drive, and he's going to be assisted, I think, by Paul Davenport, who's the General Manager of Affinity Insurance, who's going to answer any questions on insurance. Thank you.
Yes, good evening. Thanks very much for inviting us along tonight. Four Wheel Drive Victoria is very pleased to have a club like yourselves who've been around for a long, long time. So it's very good to see so many people here. Just talking about how we are going at Four Wheel Drive Victoria. As you probably know, there's been a new minister announced just late last year or in the middle of last year, who's Mr. Steve Dimopoulos. He's the Minister for the Environment, Sport and Major Events. We have not been able to get into his ear just yet, but not through lack of trying. It's very important that we keep these connections going, of course, to try and keep some funding happening and also to try and impress on the ministers and the government what we do as an association have been doing for the last 49 years. So 50 years comes about next year. And I'm very pleased to say when the previous minister, which was Minister Stitt, finally took the opportunity to talk to ourselves, both the President, Eric and myself, on a Zoom meeting with one of the chaps, a new member of the Four Wheel Drive Advisory Committee. We put the case to the Minister at the time, and at that particular time, we were looking down the barrel with no funding at all. When we sort of pushed the point about the hours, the volunteer hours that Four Wheel Drive Victoria had accrued, and I took it back to the year 2016, and I impressed on the Minister that we still, at this point in time, equate our hourly rate for a man per day at $250, which was a mark established back in 2014 by one of the top parks people. So at that point, $250 per day since 2016, we had accrued some $3.5 million worth of volunteer hours, which really knocked her socks off. And further that, we sent the total data sheet to her to explain how this comes about. And as I said to her, it's not just the working hours, it's the travel time, the money spent in fuel, accommodation, food in these little communities that we go and visit and do the work for. So it was very, very well received, and we got another $100,000, which we still are taking part of this year. So we're looking to get into the new minister's ears and let him see what we do and how we can help him out with the environmental issues he's got before him. And hopefully that'll increase our tenure as far as being funded by the government. But as you all know, the government sort of sold the farm and we were all looking down the barrel with no money. But anyway, we push on. So some of the things we're also doing, the Four Wheel Drive Advisory Committee, which meets 4 times a year, we've got a few new players in that group, 2 from the DELP side and actually 2 new ones from Parks. So we're doing a bit of rescheduling and re-educating on what we put together back in 2017, which was a strategic plan. So that has now expired last year. The next meeting we have, which is in a couple of weeks, is to try and revamp that strategy plan and bring it into a series of things we can actually achieve. So go after the low-hanging fruit, as it says, and knock out some of these things. So one of the things we talked about back in the day, this came from us, of course, one of our ideas, because quite frankly, whilst we got the partners involved, DECA now used to be DELP, but DECA and Parks Victoria, it relies on us at Four Wheel Drive Victoria to really push the barrow and get the work happening. So there was a massive survey taken part of back in about 2018-19, prior to COVID, and $250,000 was spent on the survey with a consultant out of Sydney. And you might remember it, I'm not sure, but there were certainly a lot of people involved. And the survey sort of showed a lot of people have 4-wheel drives but don't get them off their driveway in real term, not used as four-wheel drive. So part of the plan from our point of view was to try and show how we can make this come about and change the attitude of these people and try and get them out into the bush and enjoy the beautiful surroundings and scenery that we all know about. We suggested a hub and spoke approach, and that means rather than these people who don't like to, and this is nothing against those people, I've got to say, but those people who don't like to go camping and getting out in serene sort of surroundings, they want to go to the motels, the hotels, whatever. We suggested hub and spoke where they can go and stay in a place, just for instance, say Mansfield, where there's plenty of accommodation options, and then go out and do day drives from that particular spot. So that's the hub, and there's the spokes. It was well received, so we put together 6 of those different entities or different ideas, different places around Victoria, and submitted that to the government, or to DELP at the time, now DECA. Unfortunately, as I say, it's gone nowhere. So it's one of those things we keep pushing, and we just keep pushing. And it's unfortunate that the bureaucracy really hampers us. Anyway, enough of that. Other things we're playing with at the moment, you've probably heard about the Tangi Quarry that we're developing into our own driver training centre. We acquired the land 3 or 4 years ago now, and that took all of that time to get it signed off as a licence to us with a 10-year lease, and we're now 2 years into that lease, so it must be 5 years ago. Anyway, having had the lease signed off, we've gone up and put gates on the place because the quarry we're talking about was an old borrow quarry. It hadn't been used for 25 years when I first saw it, with the help of the guys from Tangi DELP. And it was a tip, an absolute tip and rubbish dump, and as well as people going up there and sighting their rifles and whatever else. So we've had that cleaned up with the guys from DELP from Tangi got in there and did the job. And we're now looking to put this training centre together. Unfortunately, we've got red tape all over us as far as the putting a donga or a building and a toilet facility in there has caused us nothing but grief. And for the last 2 years, I've been battling to get that signed off. And at this right this moment, I've got a CFA bushfire emergency plan being reenacted and restructured, and that will then hopefully get the final tick, and we can then go ahead and put some structure in there and start holding courses there. Courses have been run. There was the DELP or DECA guys, they ran some of their G-Wagon seasonal forest fires up there just prior to Christmas, before the rains came and washed all the mud away, all the dirt away. I was up there last week and again today, researching what's been done since then, which they've had the graders. We're very, very fortunate, by the way, that the guys are using their bulldozers and their backhoes and that to train their people whilst making our course come to life. I've been very fortunate to have got great relationships up there, and the guys have come together, so it's been a wonderful thing. So it saved us a lot of money, a huge amount of money. So today's little trip was to see what was being done last week. And unfortunately, that weather pattern last week stopped them doing most everything. So it wasn't a lot done. But I went out further to check out where the local, or where the nearest river crossings or creek crossings are. So we'll be running courses up there very shortly. In fact, I booked a course in today, sorry. God, what day is it? I'm not sure. But anyway, I booked it in for Zoos Victoria. So we had a group of 12 people going up there in May to use the course in earnest. And that's on the go, no matter what. So we're still involved heavily with a couple of different things. One of those groups we're in is the Mount Sterling Mount Buller stakeholder group. Now, as you probably realise, the Alpine, all the Alpine villages or spots, there were 5 different, Mount Borbor, Hotham, Halls Creek, they've all come into one. So it's all been now geared up and driven by one chairman and one committee. But luckily, we've been able to stay on the consultative committee for the Mount Sterling and Buller. Now, the reason we're there, and the reason we've been there for about 7 years, is because the Friends of Mount Sterling, back in the day, tried to knock out any four driving in the area at all. And that's not acceptable from our point of view. So we jumped into the committee and we've been battling hard and have won today. As far as I'm concerned, we're still there, and we push hard against those that want to try and knock us out. At the moment, there's some things going on with the Grotto boys, and they're looking to develop the beautiful Mirrumbar area down the bottom of Mount Buller, which has got all that beautiful green park area, and they're trying to put glamping stuff in there and whatever else. So that's an ongoing battle. But apart from that, we've also been invited onto the Murrindindi Shire Council, which looks after all that beautiful area along the Murrindindi area. So that's one of 2 spots in Victoria where they have the right to charge campers, but the money stays in their own area. So it's upkeeping the facilities. So if you go and camp along the Murrindindi River, you'll find the toilets and the facilities are fantastic. Right, what else? Let me read my notes. Okay, the RTO we've been really spinning the wheels there, and over the last 3 years, so go back to 2021, we did $160,000 in training. 2022, $200,000. And this year, just gone, $323,500. So we've increased our training revenue by a lot, a huge amount. The only problem we have, of course, is getting trainers, accredited trainers who are available to work during the week to do the corporate work, which we're winning, and we're winning it very well. And the reason we're winning it is because we're doing very, very good jobs for being professional about how we attack it, how we approach it, and we're winning work off others, which is terrific. Now, we don't go about knocking our competitors, but it's coming to us because of how we present and deliver the product we say we're going to do. So I'm very proud to say our RTO instructors and all the group, they're doing a great job, and it's wonderful to see, and the figures represent that. Hopefully it'll continue. Another thing I should tell you about is back in, when we opted out of the national body some years ago, 16, 17, whatever it was that actually, we got a letter from the then council, national council, who had formed an alliance with the Armour Group, and we were given notice from that group to say that you should cease and desist using the logo. So we set about in 2018 trying to acquire the logo for our own purpose and owning it. Now, back in 2002, we had the option to own it. All the states and territories had the option. Queensland and Tasmania took it up. Victoria, for some silly reason, said no, didn't bother about it. So here we were, challenged it. We couldn't use it. Anyway, we set about chasing it down and changing things. So we got a trademark lawyer involved. One of your royal members, he's probably still a member, Mr. Michael Colden, was involved in this, and we attacked it. So anyway, last week I got notice from the trademark lawyer in Sydney, which was a new one, another one. We own the logo now, so it's ours. So they can't take it off us, and that's great news. Thankfully, the national body was able to tip in quite a considerable amount of money, about $4,000. New South Wales and ourselves were chasing it down, so they've paid for a lot of it. We cost us a couple, but it's worthwhile, which means we don't have to change our logo, don't have to change our shirt and all our branding. People know us as that. Certainly the authorities know us have that, and our rapport with the land managers is exemplary. It's fantastic, and that's the way it sits. So, good thing. We also formed a couple of groups, the Grampians Liaison Group. We're having some problems down in the Grampians because of some internal structures down there with both the parks and the Adult people. We have clubs in that area, which were the Wimmera Club, Hamilton Club, and the Ararat Club. We're finding it hard to get things moving as they were promised to have happen, such as, doing cleanups and track clearing, camp hosting. It was very dysfunctional, but things have moved on. They've got a new area chief ranger down there, and after some moving and shaking down there, we've now got a brand new liaison group working out of that area, which is great. And unfortunately, it's just, as you know, copped the hiding with the fires, and we were going down. I was going down next month for a meeting, but that might be curtailed, but I'm certainly going to try and keep this thing running, and the clubs down there are looking forward to getting in and helping out when they get a chance. The other one we've got it going is the Western Liaison Group out of Bacchus Marsh. We tried to do this a couple of years ago. It fell over, but it's certainly up and running now. So we've got a half dozen clubs up there doing the hard yards. This is all great. If, it might sound a little bit, how you going to you, but what it really means is we've got great rapport with these people. They're seeing what we're worth as an association in looking after the landscape and offering to do the things that they can't do. This leads to the next one. You probably have seen and heard about the assessment of the values of the state forests and the Central Highlands. I hope you've looked at it. I ask you and implore you to have a look at it. We need, as an association, to put together a submission which tells the eminent panel, which is the panel that's going to be looking at what the submissions are, we need to tell them what we think about this. And the main thing we must say is we look at how it's going to affect our pastime, our recreational pursuits. And we don't want them to stop us driving through the landscape. If I could give you a little bit of a heads up, I've had people from Deaker talk to me and say, what are you doing? We need you to stir the possum. We need you to kick the bucket and start really coming hard at this, because they, both Deaker and Parks, were not invited into the consultation or the interim report that's been written. So the eminent panel is a panel of 5 people, I believe. I've actually spoken to them. They had consultation with me about 2 years ago. And it was really about what we do, how we do things, and how many people actually use these areas they're talking about. Well, I said to them, there's no way in the world I could give you a real number. You'd need to put road counters on every track in all the areas. But anyway, long story cut short, we need to put forward a very strong and positive response. Deaker, they're actually going to put a rebuttal in too, based on their own thought pattern. So we're talking about the forest area being taken into parks areas. And you might recall there was a notion some years ago called the Great National Forest Park. This is where we're going, I'm sure. Now, there's a lot of things that we could talk about, but from our point of view, we don't want to lose traction. So we'll be going hard to keep things in the status quo. What the Del people or Deaker people are saying is without the forest management team being involved, parks haven't got the money or the resources to do what they do today with the landscape they've got today. So how the hell are they going to take over all this extra land and keep it running? Not forgetting that Vic Forests, and I was told at Christmas, just prior to Christmas, Vic Forests were going to finish up on June the 30th this year. Wiped out no longer. It's already happened. The government bought it forward, so it's gone. Vic Forests are no longer. So some of those people have been transposed or transported over Deaker, as the agricultural people have, and they're still being onboarded. But I can tell you that come December, they offered up and took retrenchment packages from some 80 or 90 people, and there's another 200 in the pipeline, I'm told, from Deaker. So the whole situation from our point of view is a bit up in the air, and honestly, the people who work at these bodies, they are very cynical about what's going on too. So we need to be very positive, and I'm sure we will be. Okay. National body, we're back in, and we're looking to do things on a national scale. So that's ongoing. I hope you guys are seeing e-news. We get that out every month just to keep the communication running, as well as Trackwatch magazine, which can be read either physically or on the website or electronically. It's been doing that for years. A lot of people don't know that, but for God's sake, if you want to have a look at it, ring the office and we'll put you onto the get your code to get in. What's the word? I'll give you a key. Forget password and code. Think that'll do. But yeah, please ring the office and we'll make that happen. I'm just looking to see what else I've forgotten about. I had a call from a lady from the Wellington Shire some time back now, probably mid last year. And if the timber industry now collapsed or gone out of, say, Hayfield, particularly Hayfield, I was asked to come down. I had a meeting on Zoom with these people. Then I was asked to come down to Hayfield one night and talk to this meeting. I was an observer, I thought, with maybe a little bit of input, but I finished up standing up like I am now, and I was speaking for the whole night. They are asking what we can do as an association to try and instigate some life, some breath back into Hayfield, because it's just about, as Orbost has, it's just dying. So all I'd say was Hayfield could be seen to be the sort of the entrance to the high country. What's the word I'm looking for there? Yeah, the gateways of the high country. Thanks very much. And that's exactly what came across. So long story cut short, they said, what can you do for us? I said, well, if you're going to get all these young guys coming through here, you might try and advance their training or advance their skill sets. So we're offering to put a training centre in there. What do you need? They said. And I said, we're going to need a lot of money and a lot of land. So Wellington Shire, who are trying to push this forward, they need to put their hand in their pocket or get some government funding. They had a government chap there. So this thing was a very positive sort of aspect. Where it goes, I hope it does get some grounding and get some bloody grip and some legs, but we can only try. So Four-Wheel Drive Victoria, once again, is trying to help people out in those communities, because we all know that without them, there's nothing to see when you ride through. So we're working with these people. So I think I've just about had enough talking, and I should probably ask for questions. And yes, sir. Tony.
Thanks, Wayne. Always informative from you guys. Question, with the changeover of a lot of the parks in Victoria to national parks, how does that go with the standing with 4 Drive Victoria having any influence on track closures? And also, what is we as an industry and 4 Drive Victoria doing to try and either stop that, because it's, you know, number of families that go there with dogs and animals and all that, basically that's going to be stopped. So, you know, what's 4 Drive influence on that whole situation?
Well, this is what I'm saying about putting in a strong submission. We're going to talk about these things which are going to affect our members. A lot of our members have dogs, and that's going to kill that to a certain extent. There's only a couple of parks areas in Victoria you can actually take a dog, 2 or 9, and on leads. So if it goes to national parks or state parks or conservation parks, you'll have this problem. Not only that, a lot of our members are hunters and shooters. So that's going to influence that too. And who knows, it might be, you know, can't fish on a certain spot.
So what's the timing of all this, and what do you need from the clubs? I mean, there's no sense pointing the clubs to a website and asking them to input. We need directive from 4 Drive Victoria to the club saying we want this, this and this by this time.
We'd like to think we could get it as quick as possible. By the end of March will do, because I know it's going to be, they say the consultation will commence early 2024. Here we are almost at the end of February. We've heard nothing. Right. So we've got to be cynical, or I'm cynical. We get it in as quick as we can. Eric's going to tell us he's got a consultant coming through to do some of this work. I don't quite believe we need a consultant. I think we've got enough clubs with enough brains in the joint to put down on paper what we think and see is going to be a problem to us. And those things you mentioned, Tony, are exactly that.
So there will be something coming out from 4 Drive Victoria to the club
absolutely.
as a directive.
Well, we've already sent it out.
Right, okay.
I've sent the whole thing out to all the club executives, and that should go out to the members and be talked about ad nauseum, really, and whatever. But it's all about getting on the front foot, and that's what we're trying to do now.
So ultimately, will 4 Drive Victoria lose that influence over track closures that they've got now?
I don't think so, but it may happen if the wrong people get in charge. But I look, at the moment, we've got a fantastic rapport with all those people at the top level. So
right,
it may happen. But, you know, I'm retiring this year, guys, so you might want to ask
so you don't give a rat's ass. Yeah?
No, it's not that at all. No, I don't.
I know.
No.
Wayne, can I just break in, please? Look, last meeting, I made it clear, I thought, to the club members that this VAC proposal came to us on December the 19th. And what I said was, go to the website, cherry pick the items in the report that you don't like, and come back to 4 Drive Victoria with those answers. The closure of tracks and all the rest of it is not part of it. There will be some issue, some areas where the Koori community will become the managers of the area, but that's from a knowledge base, not physical infrastructure maintenance. But we're now well entrenched with the Kooris down East Gippsland, particularly the Gunnakunais, who basically treat us as allies. So we're in partnership with them so we can maintain the main thrust of what 4 Wheel Drive Victoria is there to do is keep the tracks open. We don't see this at this point in time because we don't know enough about it. The report that's come out is quite vague. So I've spoken to a consultant in Traralgon who's across it, and I'm going to have another meeting with them at the end of this week to go through a report that we can put forward for 4 Wheel Drive Victoria to go out to all the clubs. So the thing about closing of tracks, I don't believe for a moment we're going to be in any danger of having tracks closed because we already have alpine parks, national parks.
Can I just, before you get in, John, sorry, tracks are closed because of 2 reasons only: environmental issues and safety, risk management. So if a track shows that someone's pushed the dirt and whatever, it's running in the, stuff's running into the rivers, streams which go to our catchment areas, or there's been damage to the sphagnum moss or the precious grasses or whatever, that will shut a track. Kelly's Lane's a good example. They've put the road in, they've aligned it in the wrong section, people come down and drive on Kelly's track. It's got this beautiful sphagnum moss there and it gets destroyed during the winter time. So there's always an early closure and a late opening in Kelly's Lane. That's the sort of thing. But the other one is risk management. So when we have fires and we have floods and trees fall down like the alpine ash, people die. So that's risk management. Now, tracks that can be closed without consulting us, and by the way, they do consult us when they look at closing a track, either seasonally closing or permanently. They do consult us. I go out all the time and check these things out before we give it a tick or not. The tracks that are illegally formed can be closed without any consultation, and that's just a given. So when you look at the Wombat and the Lerderderg, and some of those people go out there and just drive off the track and head down to the river for a camping spot or something, that's illegally formed, so they can be shut. So honestly, people talk to me about, oh, they're always shutting these tracks. No, they're not. They're not. They don't go out, it's a sunny day, we're going to shut some tracks. They do it with purpose on the tracks that need to be closed because of environmental or risk management issues, right? And as Eric just said, we're working very hard with all the Quarry groups around Victoria, right across from the East Gippsland, right across the Gunjamara down in the Western Districts and further north to Tunnarong. We're on the go with them all, trying to get on the front foot so that when things go ahead and they get native title and they get more sort of ownership, we can say we're part of them and we're right beside them, helping them find and then respect their heritage and looking after it. So it's a very big push we've had for years and it's working, which is good. John, sorry, mate.
Yes, thank you, Wayne. I actually managed to read the report as best I could because I'm a delegate for the club. Everyone should have a go at reading it, but do yourself a favour. If you're going to read it, go towards the back of it. There's a glossary of all the shortened terms and all the acronyms, and then it makes a lot more sense because you'd spend all your time wading through to find out which party said what and how they're connected with so and so.
Do you think they write things that way, John, on a purse?
I would dread to think that would happen, Wayne. You know that.
Any other questions? I'm going to sit down. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thanks, Wayne. If there's any insurance questions, we've got the General Manager of Affinity Insurance here tonight. So he's on the table with Eric.
Oh, yeah, just a question. My name's Marcus. I'm the treasurer at the club. I was having a chat with Eric the last committee meeting, and he mentioned some of the sort of the claims that Forward Drive Victoria has paid out over the recent times. Obviously, as a club, when we go on a club trip, we're covered by the insurance as distinct from when you're on a private trip and there's no coverage. I was just wondering if you're able to give us an example or a few examples of some of the kinds of incidents that have occurred and some of the ways that the insurance policy has actually helped out the actual aggrieved or the injured parties or whomever.
That's a great question and thank you. And obviously there's some confidentiality issues that I've got to sort of ensure I meet as I talk about these things. But I think it's a really good question. For example, in the personal accident, so there's three main policies that sit with the association. First is the association liability, which protects the board and the committee members in their role as they do. And I think I don't need to explain too much of the vulnerability of people in that sense in this day and age. And there've been a number of things in that particular case that we've actually avoided. So there've been some threats of litigation in that area, which because of our claims manager and the way we handle it, we've been able to mitigate that even pre actually going to it. So it's actually not cost anything, whereas typically you would have to engage, there's your solicitor to be engaged and do. So we've been able to avoid a lot of legal costs in dealing with some of those types of issues. The other main policy that's in place is the public liability policy, which is there to protect obviously the members, the affiliates, the clubs for third party property damage and personal injury that is caused by the negligence of the association, which by the way does include members. So there is the ability for that member to member cover. So in the event of personal injury that is catastrophic, there is also the ability to defend or pay out on a civil claim that's in that. So so an example of that would be, where someone may have run into another vehicle. The vehicle insurance, there's, issues without that. And it was because of the direction or the negligence of, whether it be the trip leader or someone that was involved. So it can pick up those types of claims. Again, we try to negate those as best we can, because obviously, if it's a large thing, then obviously that's worth knowing, because I think in some senses it's always it's always the Mercedes that gets hit. It's never the old Falcon. So there is the ability for that. But the main area where, and there have been some claims of personal injury and property damage that have been limited, and you've got to think that if you get involved in litigation, you're beginning just in defence costs, you're beginning in around the $20,000, $30,000 and $40,000 mark. All right, just to engage defence costs of any claim in that sense of any serious nature. But the key one, I think, of what you're referring to, and you check me if I'm wrong, is in the personal accident space. As members, we've got that protection of. So when we say the insurance policy, there are a series of policies. The personal accident insurance is designed to protect and provide some compensation for volunteers and members in the event that there's a personal injury. It's a no-fault policy. So in the event of someone getting hurt, they can claim on this. You will not get rich on this policy. It's not designed to get you rich, but it's helped to bridge some of the gaps and pay some of the bills that come along with it. Where it is particularly useful is, for example, without breaching any confidentiality, it's probably well known there have been at least 2 deaths that occurred. So already there's $200,000 at a minimum that's been paid out. Then obviously with those ones, there's also funeral expenses and a whole range of other repatriation expenses. So we know in those particular cases, you're talking of in excess of 230, 240,000. So that's just an example there. There have been, the odd broken bone, the odd strain. There's been a number of, like physiotherapy sessions and those types of things which people have claimed on. You can't claim on Medicare rebatable expenses. That's against the law in Australia because Medicare pays that. But non-Medicare medical expenses, for some people, believe it or not everybody has ambulance cover. I know that seems very strange. Tell me there's nobody in this room that doesn't have ambulance cover. Oh, good. That's a start. I hope they're all telling the truth. But oftentimes there could be ambulance claims. There have been a couple of those that have occurred where they're trying to claim for those sorts of things. So that's typically the type of thing that people are claiming on. Does that answer the question? Great, thanks.
Okay, and we'll move on then to the President's report, which is in the magazine, but as you know, we've had a pretty hectic month the last month, particularly when we're given pretty short notice that we had to vacate the premises here. And several of us on the committee, including I think Alison particularly, she's probably rung about every half the clubs in Melbourne. And myself, Ian Ross and Alison looked at 3, and I looked at a 4th one on the way home, and I've looked at a couple of others since. And then we came, I think David suggested Dandenong Club, and then that was further suggested by Sharon McGregor. And Ian and myself went over there, and it seemed to tick most of the boxes that this place does. And rest assured, at this stage, it's an interim thing. We're both giving ourselves a try out of 4 months. And we're welcoming any input from any member that's got some solid suggestions. What we might do by this week, we're hoping to get out a weekend wrap in which we'll give the demographic of all our members and a condition of what we really require for a meeting room. So we're going to go next month, we'll go to Dandenong and give them a try. It's got quite a good room up there. We'll eat in that room, and there's bar service if we require it. And we'll have our own menu, which we might be able to get that in the meantime and circulate that on weekend wrap. Further on than that, moving on, Chris Treble, with his travels to Western Australia, decided he liked this travelling life, and so he's since going to step down from his position in running DA from the end of March, I believe. And he's got Veronica Vermeulen taking over, and a partner, at least temporarily, will take on the 2IC role or the administrative role. And we wish them good luck. We've also, I think there's already been a weekend wrap about to try and sort of see if we can encourage some people who would like to maybe take their hand at doing DA or becoming a teacher. So that's pretty much all that's happened. It's been pretty hectic this month. So thank you very much, and we'll move right along now. Thank you. Next off, we've got Jlong Report from Alison Williams.
Geelong, we had a good meeting, nice social at the Yuyangs, but it was very hot. We've got a clean up on the 3rd of March. We're not going to be doing Lerderderg because we now need a working with children permit for every person. To gain your working with children permit, you need a passport or a birth certificate, and a few members don't have those. So we're going to be relocating to somewhere in Geelong and be doing a clean up down there, and everyone's welcome to book in and come along. We'll do a few hours hard yakka and then have a barbecue, which we'll provide, and probably on the beach. So please have a look at that and come and join us. Thank you.
We've now got a video on the Garvock emergency response. That was edited by Sharon McGregor, that video. So thanks, Sharon, for that. Now we go on with our emergency response officer. I think you still are, Eric, is going to have a short word.
That was a really good presentation, Sharon. That really hits the message square in the bullseye, the volunteering of doing this sort of work. If those of you who haven't been involved in bushfire recovery or flood recovery, you've got no idea what these people go through. From the moment the bushfire is out, they start paying for everything. They've got to adjust their animals. They've got to buy wire and posts. They've got to buy food for their animals. So every single thing that they've got to do in their life after a bushfire, they've got to fork out money. And that, to some of them, is a cost they just don't have the money to deal with. So therefore, they can't afford to clean up. You know, Blaze get out there and they're part of the fires down at Pomona at the moment. Part of the volunteers about to be there. They build the perimeter fences for the farmers so they can put their animals in there and keep their animals safe. But they don't build the internal fences. Another thing is insurance company cover their house. Some of them have insurance that covers their houses. Some of them, the insurance is so expensive they can't. They lose their livelihood. They lose their buildings, their tractors, their implements, their welders, all their tools. And they've got to buy that all again. Half of it's not covered by insurance. Another thing is when insurance companies do cover them for rebuilding their houses, is something I discovered in the bushfires at Bunyip. I was there for nearly 12 months working with that, coordinating cleanups and so forth. They don't pay to clean up the burnt house property. So all the corrugated iron and the burnt rubble and bricks and mortar and stuff that's all laying there in a pile, somebody has to get rid of. And that's what we did with the volunteers. At Tonumbuck, the Bunyip fires, we had an organisation called Samaritan Purse who come down from Queensland. They've got a B-double truck, chock-a-block full of chainsaws, whippersnippers, tools, equipment. The front part of the B-double has bunks and shower and toilet facilities for the volunteers that come with them. We had the Rubicon people who are ex-military guys and women who are suffering from PTSD, who have no reason to get out of bed in the morning. They come and work on these properties for us, cleaning up the rubbish. It's not just building fences. It's cleaning up the trees that have fallen so that Blaze can get in and start building the fences. It's cleaning up the sides of the roads. The council try their best, but they just don't have the resources. I know at the last bushfire we attended, blokes like David Mance, for instance, came up with his hydraulic trailer, tandem trailer. So we cut logs and so forth and threw them into his trailer, and we took him to a central point and his trailer helped lift it out. A lot of our people, especially the Arcas, came down to help out with cleaning up barbed wire, and we had skips all over the place that they filled up. You know, it's a dirty job, but these people are just devastated. They can't think of crossing the road in the morning, let alone trying to get what we get done in a week or 2 weeks or 3 weekends. That takes them a month to think about. The thing about the Pomona fires at the moment, 40 houses are gone. I was talking to Bob Sanders today, who's the mayor of Ararat, and I said to him, we've got a group of four-wheel drive Victoria and Toyota Land Cruiser Club. We've got four-wheel drive clubs in Ararat. You've got them in Stawell. You've got them in Horsham, Ballarat. We've got them all over the place, and we can coordinate these people and get there. So tomorrow we'll be talking to a couple of others, but I must say that Alison has been pretty hot on the phone talking to these people in the last few days to get something happening. I live in Warragul, so I can't go there, but I know what it takes to coordinate the activities that goes on for the rebuild for these people, or just to get their minds in the right place. You know, the Buddhist group from Melbourne came down there, and out of their bank balance, they donated $200,000 to the families that lost everything. You know, we organised Lions clubs to come along. We were splitting logs because these people had all their firewood burnt. So we split logs for them for the next season's fire, for their home fires and so forth. The various churches, the Lions clubs, all these people, somebody has to coordinate and organise them. I mean, we had people full time, 7 days a week for months and months, just cutting logs, splitting logs, and not just men, a lot of women were there doing it as well, because splitting logs is not really a big, heavy job. It just requires a fair bit of safety knowledge and a bit of training and so forth. But by and large, everybody in the club is capable of jumping into four-wheel drive for one weekend, go down there, do some work. And if you're retired, you can get down there and do some work during the week, or stay a week, or stay a fortnight, whatever. I know when the big fires were on, was it Black Wednesday? I can't remember now, but I was up at Flowerdale, and the person who we were working with was going into hospital a few days later to have some stents put in his heart and so forth. And he was standing there crying his eyes out. 20 vehicles turned up. We're all self-sufficient, got our own food, fridges, campsites. You didn't have to pay anything. And he said to me, "Why are these people doing this?" And I said, "Because have you seen where some of these people work? You know, some of them go to work in black suits in glass bloody towers in the city and so forth. For them, this is part of their hobby. You know, they enjoy doing this because they're helping somebody." And this guy just stood there crying his eyes out. The unfortunate part about it, I slipped arse over it and broke me leg. I had to go to the hospital. When I got to the hospital, the nurse at the emergency gave me a cooking, because she says, "I bet you drove down here. 95% of blokes, when they have an accident, drive to the hospital." I said, "Listen, lady, I can get a cooking when I get home. You know, can you help me out here? I'm in a bit of trouble." But being serious, it takes not just the community that's in trouble, it takes the entire state community to help these people. So Alison and I are putting a bit of time into this, and so we'll come back to the club with the program and a schedule of what we're proposing to do before the next meeting, and see if we can get a few people down there. Even if only 3 or 4 turn up to help clean up, that's the main job, is cleaning up and helping. If we need to build internal fences for those who have grass that's left, then we'll talk to the Yark guys and get the fencing equipment and so forth together, and we'll get down there. But I'm going to give probably after the end of next month, I'll be giving up some of my time, at least a month or two, to go down there and help coordinate. So anybody got any questions about that? This club has had a huge, I've been in this club 19 years, and I can remember Turbo, one of our old presidents, talking about fires that happened up at Midda and so forth. And so for years and years and years, decades, this club has been helping in bushfire and flood recovery. So we'll back into it again. Unfortunately, we need a fire to spark ourselves up. Sorry about that punt. Yeah. Yeah, does anybody want a show of hands right now? To 2 people. Pomonal, it's just south of Stall. Yeah. Paul's Gap, yeah, basically, yeah. All right, we'll get more later. The others that aren't here will probably, we'll as time goes on, because this will go on for 6 months. You know, it's not just going to happen in the next month. But anyway, that's enough from me. Hand you over to Peter and the next conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. It's well worth spending a couple of days in these places. So I encourage everyone to sort of have a good think about it. Thank you. And we're moving on now. We've got the Yark Report with Brian Stewart.
All right. I'm sure that many of you have met my dog, Jack. He loves going up to Yark. Well, over the years, he's lost track of some of his old rusted mates. So earlier this century, we started tracking them down. Not a simple task. A few have responded with photos of their habitat, and most of them are doing pretty well. But the search continues as Jack puts together what he calls, "Where are they now?" He's very pleased with the progress, and the latest to pop up was Fernando. We received a message from the folk that he lives with just last week, and I'd like to share that with you. I'll find it in here somewhere. There we go. Hi, Brian. Finally have a pic of Fernando Frog. It was conceived approximately 35 years ago and it faithfully protected the back door of my house from numerous intruders, including rampant bullfrogs. We were unsure of Fernando's gender at first, but on seeing the mangled remains of a Queensland toad at the back door, we were convinced he was a male protecting his happy bunch of females. Not only has he protected his girlfriends, but has loyally held open the door for any mere mortals trying to enter with arms full of groceries. In fact, Fernando has brightened our lives immensely with his helpfulness and quiet croaking at night. And that's cheers from, I don't know whether he wants his name read out, but I'll give you a couple of letters in his name, 2 R's. Anyway, and then just as a PS to this story, they think that Fernando was related to Jeremiah, who was made famous by Creedence Clearwater's song, Jeremiah Was a Bullfrog, a very dear friend of mine. And yeah, I found that very entertaining that Gary, Dobby Men, had sent that along. And yeah, that sort of went on and, you know, he's a very good friend of mine. You help him drink his wine and brings along some pretty good wine. And following on from that, Jeremiah was hoping to catch up with Fernando and share his mighty fine wine at Yark this weekend. Maybe should be there too, and you can bring along some of your mighty fine wine. And Jack would love to see you there too. Anyway, oh, almost forgot to mention, there are a couple of odd jobs to be done up there too this weekend. Thank you.
We've got Veronica Vermeulen to do the driver training report.
Good evening. Just to let you know that we've had our first DA theory for the year. So that happened last week. So that's the February theory. And we've got the practical weekend happening on the 1st to the 3rd of March. So very much looking forward to our first practical session for the year. We still have some spaces available in March and April. So if we've got any new members who have their cars ready, would also love for you to get in on the March or April dates at this point in time. And just to reiterate what Peter said earlier, yes, there has been an expression of interest for being on the DA team in the weekend wrap. So if anybody has any questions or is interested, please send an email to the driver awareness email address and we'll respond to that. And if you want to speak to somebody, one of the team will get in contact with you as well. But that's all for the DA team. Thank you.
And now we move on to the Trip Convener report with Viv Gardner.
I'd like to thank all our fantastic trip leaders who since our last meeting have run trips. John Price, Take a Look at Tallarook, and Billy Bluff, Goat. Piers Thompson, The Butcher Country. Baz and Viv, King Valley Australia Day. Brian and Rita Medanchik's Wine, Dine and Drive with the King. Graham Innes and Veronica Vermeulen's Anglesey Heathland Recce, and Veronica's much awaited Anglesey Ladies' Day Drive. There's still one trip to run this month, and it's Marcus's East Gippy Adventure. We have 4 trips running in March prior to our next meeting, and they are all full. Trips fill so fast, many members miss out. We're desperate for more trips to be listed so our newest members can enjoy what we all like to do. Go away with great company and have fun. So please, if you can spare a day or a weekend to run a trip, that would be very much appreciated. Also, it's a good opportunity to take advantage of our trip leader free merchandise offer. All you have to do is run a trip or 2. If you and your partner are trip leaders, you both could get one. If you run one trip, you can get a club beanie. Run 2 trips, you can get a club t-shirt. This offer will expire on the 31st of March, so be quick. You don't want to miss this great opportunity. It would be great to see trips listed over the coming months. Baz and I are heading off on an extended break, but I'll have Starlink to continue my role as trip convener. And I'll join in the meetings if possible, But if I'm not in range or I miss something, Laurie will be my backup for my electronic trip duties and photo requests. So please, trip leaders, we need more trips. Thank you. Sharon, would you like to come up and talk about your activity trip?
Okay, so this weekend we have got wombat cuddles and working bee. I would love to see as many people to come along as possible and help out. It's at Narberview, which is about half an hour from Yark. It's at Buxton. You can come up just for the day on Saturday or Sunday, or you can come up for the weekend. There's camping on the property, or you can go back to Yark and camp and then come back up the next day if you like. Basically, there's a bit of storm damage. Some branches came down and crushed the roof of one of the wombat cages. There's some trees to cut up. There's wombat enclosures to clean out and replace food and water. There's baby wombats to feed, bottle feed and cuddle. They love cuddles. If you've seen the photos in the past with, you know, some of the members cuddling the wombats, they're absolutely adorable. There's also some work to do down the road, which is down at the Cathedral Ranges, which is their release site, to cut the trail was cleared last working bee, but with all the rain and sunshine, it's overgrown again. So we're going to go in and just clean that. So there's a team going down there, and we're working together with the Melbourne Jeep Owners Club. So at the moment there's only two. I've only listed this trip a few days ago. So there's only 3 cars going with the Toyota Land Cruiser Club, and there is at the moment, I think 8 cars going with the Melbourne Jeep Owners Club. Love to see more. The last time we did this last year, there was 40 of us all down there having a blast. The Jeep Club are putting on lunch and dinner. There will be a campfire that evening, and they're putting on breakfast. So the only thing you have to bring is some morning tea and afternoon tea to share. So love to see you there. Okay, thank you.
We're now going to have a break, our mid-meeting break of 10 minutes. And during that time, for those that want to, there's going to be a 10-minute video shown on the Canning Stock Route Part 4 with trip leaders Anita and Warren Sprigg.
No, just the one, mate, just the one. Did anyone hear him in the camp last night?
Yeah, I did.
I did too.
Yeah, but you get a few cents.
What day is it?
Oh, today's Friday.
Friday.
Today's Friday.
Friday
the
what?
Friday. Hang on. Today's Friday the 14th. What day of the trip is it? Well, which trip?
This trip.
Which trip?
No. You've only got one trip. You don't.
No.
There isn't multiple trips. There isn't a trip within a trip.
There's been 3 trips within a trip.
No, from Kalgoorlie. From Cal.
From Kalgoorlie.
From Cal.
Well, there's Kalgoorlie. There was the Kalgoorlie trip up.
Don't include Don't include Newman and a titty bar.
No. But that was one trip. Then there was Well 6 back to Kalgoorlie. Then there was Kalgoorlie, which is the third trip.
Okay.
The third trip back out to Well 20, where we met up with you guys. So I've had 3 trips.
All right.
And I've been trip leader of 2 of them, and for part of the way.
All right. Let's rephrase the question. The Canning.
Yes.
Stock route,
Yes.
CSR,
Yes.
included a trip out to this one here.
Yeah.
And that's the trip I'm referring to specifically.
Oh, that's Dave's trip.
That's
Because at the end of the day, Dave's been here, so I asked Dave to run that one because he's been here and he knows where it's going, right? So that's not my trip either. So now we're on to 4 trips.
Okay, so on to 4 trips. All right, so what do you think of Dave's trip?
I like it.
You're not alone, because it's hard to actually
We're
work
about
it out.
halfway, I think.
Okay, where are we?
We're, I don't know, somewhere in the middle of nowhere in a national park.
More specific.
More Pacific. Georgia Ball? No, not far from Georgia
Okay, that's
Ball.
that's on the CSR. We're not on the CSR right now.
okay.
Where are we right now?
Rudall River, Carmelo National Park. What is it, Dairy Queen spot or something?
Now we've gone from desert. Best part of the trip, mate.
So how many?
Oh, there's just been so many. Just so
Just
many.
pick one. Just pick one.
Oh, the waterhole yesterday.
Which waterhole yesterday?
Oh, where we camped. That was very nice. Very relaxing.
Watrara.
Watrara, yes.
Watrara. Why
Watrara.
Watrara?
She was very relaxed. You could take your shoes off, rub your feet in the sand. Magnificent.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Thank
if I
you,
see
mate.
it on the
Thank
end
you.
of bloody cruiser club time.
You should see me.
Thai trip.
Yes, the number one.
Leaving.
Leaving where?
Home.
Oh, okay. All right. Now, okay. Can we get something that's actually specific to the CSR?
Yes. Okay. Lake Disappointment.
Lake Disappointment. What was it about Lake Disappointment that impressed you most?
I love looking out
What's it like
over
going across the
onto
creek?
the horizon and just seeing salt way in the distance.
It was good, wasn't it?
As far as the eye can
Yes,
see.
I love that little shimmer off on
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
yeah.
I thought it was terrific. All right, thank you for that. Thank you for sharing. Best part of the trip?
Best part of the trip. There's lots of things. I enjoyed my climb today. I think the climb today, getting right up to the top and then just looking at the vast scenery around you.
That's the national park that you were in when you did
Yes.
the climb. What's the name of the national park that you were in?
Yep, National Park.
It's Rudall River.
Is it Rudall or Randall?
No, it's Rudall. Because
Rudall.
I clarified that, so I said Rudall like noodle, and he said yes.
Oh, okay. So
So Rudall.
Morning, Steve.
Morning, Kev. Yeah, mate.
You're going to go slow, are you?
Yeah, I'll be in the slow.
Betsy.
Good morning.
Well, I'll be Charlie.
Yeah. Righto. So we're going back out the way we came. Back to the north-south track. Turn left.
And a couple of k's up here we'll come to the junction called Windy Corner, which is where the Talawana track keeps heading east.
Talawana track is just corrugation, nothing but corrugation. CSR.
There's the sign there. We need to turn left at the crossroad. Welcome back, boys. Thank you. That's not the wicket. Northeast.
We got to do more of Talawana track than what you did.
Is it windy? No. I think go on the track.
Left or right?
Left. Black. It's jet black with a little bit of brown.
There is a hole.
What can we say?
I'm not about to go in there to find out.
Why not, mate?
Yeah, right.
Trust me.
Keys.
Hey.
Set of keys. You got it?
Hey, who's throwing the rock?
Oh, lovely.
I think that little dingo is playing with you, Dave.
Yeah, do you see him? Yeah.
Wood search.
Low 2. Yeah.
You're gonna have to take a bit of air out of them, I reckon, Casper. How many PSI you got in there? 18 in the front and 24 in the back. Yeah, you can still come down a few.
Oh, back wheels are off the ground nearly.
Yeah, it's easy to get. Just give it 5 minutes here. It'll be as quick as backing up and pulling him back. Okay. Got 5. We've got 5, mate. Alright, I'll talk to him now. Righto. Okay, well, actually, send them up because they can come down here and we got Casper right back now letting tyres down, so send them all over.
Hard or go home. Keep going, keep going. Keep that foot down. Oh, yes.
Hey, Ranger! Pyro Man!
Alfred Wernham Canning, 1861 to 1936, explorer and surveyor. Well, there you go. Love the tank. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's probably one of the water tanks.
Yeah, no, that's really cool, that.
Well, 28 this time. You ready? Here we go. How exciting is that? that's a bush.
Mike.
That photographic little face.
Next, we have a report from Cruisacana. We've got get Manda Gladstone up here to give us a few words.
Hi, everyone. For Cruisacana, I'm just going to be short and sweet, but it's been a bit exciting. So January, the Yark maintenance team gave Cruisacana a bit of a hand and we fixed some events that have been long awaiting to have some repairs done. We had some new logs from felled trees that did actually need to fall, so they weren't just burnt. We've reused them and put them into the Timber Challenge. The $1,800 that Marcus was talking about for Cruisacana actually went along to some track building and some new gutters, which we then should not lose the events in the future because we're actually channeling the water properly. So fingers crossed over winter, we don't lose too much soil and we should be ready to go for October. Looking for volunteers now too. We'll start putting some heads in the committee for volunteering. Marshals, John Price will be logistics and I'll just be team leader and happy to listen to anybody's comments. Anyone have any questions? Yes.
We'll move on to social and Helen's not here, so we have to put up with Eric. I'm sorry.
He's such a gentleman. Apologies from Helen tonight. We had to take her to hospital yesterday and did a bit of rooting around, but she's all right. But she needs a bit of sleep. Last weekend, they held the trip down to Herring Island, which from all accounts went very well. So the girls did a great job there. Grace's apology tonight as well, sorry. She's babysitting. However, the rock and roll night on Saturday, April the 20th up at Yark, similar to the one we ran last time. So come and join us for a great fun-filled night of rock and roll, dance to your favourite music, dress up in your 50s and 60s outfits. There will be prizes for the best costumes, 50s and 60s. Test your knowledge of the 50s and 60s music trivia segment. There will be a 2-course dinner. So what we plan to do is it'll be on the weekend of maintenance. So we're looking for those who want to come for the rock and roll night to come during sometime in the afternoon to give a hand with setting it all up and helping with the food. Bring your own nibbles and drinks. Booking has not opened yet, so keep this date. There will be more to follow. Please call Grace or Helen. It's on, if you have any questions, it's on Weekend Wrap. So it's all there this weekend. Rightio.
Okay, we're going now with education with Nettie Kennedy. I think will join us on Zoom.
For those of you that haven't met me, I'm Nettie Kennedy, and myself and Craig Werner are looking after the training going forward. Craig's an apology tonight. And I listened to all of the reports before this one, and absolutely it is amazing to hear the stories of all the club members that go and help out with bushfires and floods. But I've just heard from a lot of people who volunteer their time for this club. And, I think it's remarkable that people stand up and have stand up for decades doing jobs in the club. And I want to acknowledge that in taking on this role with Craig, that I stand on the shoulders of the people before me who have done this. And in particular, I want to thank Liz Mills for her work in the training area. She spent a lot of time with me last year in teaching me the ropes. She's established some amazing systems that will make it easy for myself and Craig to move forward with the training. And I should also pay thanks to her trusty assistants that go along to Yark with her, John and Rupert. Just thank her really sincerely for all of that work. So we've had some handover with Liz, and again, appreciate that she's going to mentor us a little bit as we slip into this role. And we have organised the first lot of training, which is later than it normally is, which is the first aid training. And I understand that, for the first aid training, you can register in two different ways. One, to do your CPR update, which needs to happen every 12 months, should you want it to be current. And the other is to do 2 full days of first aid training. Last year, I was lucky enough to attend the training myself for the 2 days that James Asam runs. And he's an exceptional trainer and a fantastic person. Being a paramedic and understanding camping and 4-wheel driving, the course is really super relevant. Part of the first part of first aid is actually making the place safe before you first aid anyone. So he gave us some precarious situations with vehicles that had to be secured before first aid could even start. So I'd really encourage anyone that, gets out in the bush, and that's most of us, if you haven't done first aid, to really think about doing this for yourself, your own family, and other travellers that you might come across in the bush as well. So I do want to say that the training role that myself and Craig have taken on doesn't include driver awareness, and it doesn't include the trip leaders training. But what it does include is a lot of training that members, again, volunteer their time and skills for, and lean in and share those skills with other members. So, it's, training that I've enjoyed and been to, where, Bill Black has done, things on preparing for trips and car maintenance. Liz has done things around camp cooking. We've had, people sharing their skills around, chainsaw, fixing tyres, photography, map reading. Thanks for your time.
Now we move on. We've now got to have a gathering report. Michael Martin can't be here tonight, and we've got the very able Tony Bryant to do it in his place.
The organisation, as you may know, Michael Martin's taken over doing the administration aspects of the National Gathering in 2025. It's progressing well. By the end of the quarter, we envisage we'll be going out to the other states asking for expressions of interest as far as their numbers and allocating numbers, how many they can go. But what we are looking for is somebody with some marketing experience to fill the void on the committee for marketing. So if any of those with marketing experience, if you can offer your services, we just need some help in certain areas and just doing a bit of mailing out and contact work with the other states and the other participants. We'd appreciate your services. But apart from that, it's progressing well, and Michael will be here next month to update you.
Thanks, Tony. And next we move straight on to the webcast report with Laurie Miles.
Sorry, I had to take my headphones off. I have headphones so I can hear whether Zoom can actually hear us because we have a few issues sometimes. Touch wood, things have gone really well tonight, haven't they, guys? Yep. I need to give some apology for last month's meeting. I have actually found that the problem with last month's meeting was actually my laptop. There's some drivers that are corrupted in it, and it's taken me a while to try and work through them. And it looks like we've finally worked out the gremlins, but it played havoc on audio as well as video. And I haven't had that experience before. That's what I've been talking to Zoom over the last month, and they said, go through and do this. Eugene was a great help. Although he's great on audio, he's great on drivers as well. He said, it's a pain in the ass when drivers go. He said, you spend hours and hours, but once you get them fixed. So hopefully tonight, it looks like it's going well. We still do have a slight hiccup with Zoom in that when we try to show two screens up there, we get the person that we previously spotlighted. We don't know why. We can show one at a time, but we can't show like we used to. We used to actually have the podium and the room together, and we can't do it at the moment. So that's why it was there and then it went. Some of you are probably aware that I have not been available for the last month very much. I do certainly have my sick mother-in-law living with us at our home. She is not well. She actually has terminal cancer, and Heidi and I are having to spend, basically one of us has to be there all the time in our house. So I'm here tonight, Heidi's home. On Saturday, she's doing some driver training over at Werribee, and I have to stay at home and look after her. So we love her really much, but we know that her days are numbered. But I did actually say to the committee at one stage, please, I just can't take phone calls at the moment. I just need to focus. It's been pretty emotional. So unless anyone's got any questions, I might let the president take it back over.
So if we could move on now, and we can go on to, we've got a short video on a cruise through the Otways with a trip led by Graham Innes and Veronica Vermillion, and the video was edited by Viv Gardner. the end for tonight. We're going to fade out to a video. I'd like, first of all, to thank everyone for coming tonight. It's thank you. But thanks for coming.